We'll see you Wednesday.
We'll call the meeting to order at 6:03. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Joe Rivero. Please remain standing for the invocation.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shall we pray? Father, we thank you for the chance to come do the work of the city of Atwater. Father, we thank you for this great city. We thank you for the citizens of this city and the wonderful community that we are able to live in and serve in. We thank you for those on the city council that serve this great city. We ask that their decisions will be carefully made, Father, and that they will benefit the citizens and the city as it grows and as it proceeds down into the future. We know that it's difficult now with resources and needs, Father, and we just ask that you will help us to make decisions and help those that are here to make comments that are beneficial. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. Roll call.
Bergman is absent. Mooneyham?
Here.
Jeff Rivero? Here. Joe Rivero?
Here.
Paul?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Mayor or Deputy City Attorney report out from closed session. Tonight we're going to have our Deputy Attorney, City Attorney, Mrs. Hendrickson, report out for us.
That's Stacy Henderson, but that's fine. There's no reportable action that was taken on items A through C. Item D is the public employee performance evaluation for the city manager. The city manager received a satisfactory performance evaluation. Excuse me. City Council Member Fowl moved to grant the city manager a one-step merit increase effective July 3rd, 2014. The motion was seconded by the City Council Member Jeff Rivero, and the votes in favor were Jeff Rivero, Mr. Mooneyham, and Mayor Fowl, and absent from that vote were Mr. Bergman and Council Member Rivero, Joe Rivero. That's all.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda as posted or as amended. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Agenda?
Yeah, but-
Did you call for a motion, Madam Mayor?
No, yes, is there any council person who wishes to change the agenda or remove an item from the agenda? Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda as posted.
Okay. Move to approve the agenda as posted. Is there a second? I'll second it. So any further discussion? Call for the question.
Mooneyham,
Yes.
Joe Rivera,
Yes.
Jeff Rivera,
Yes.
Fall.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the presentation of certificates of appreciation to the Atwater Aviators, and I'm going to ask Councilman Jeff Rivero to help us. And Aviators, would you please come forward? We have two additional aviators out in the audience. We'd like to have three, and we'd like to have them come up also. Because these are the people who are the key people for Ms. Thomas? Yes. Yes. She's a real promoter of this group. I'd like to welcome these young people to our city council, and I'd like to have Councilman Jeff Rivero introduce the people, and then I know this young lady next to me who's Miss Britton, and we'll have to but these are the support. These people here are the ones, plus Mrs. Thomas, the ones that are the background. They are the people who have really supported the aviators. And you're going to have to introduce yourself because I should know you, but...
Hi, I'm Shelley Estrada, and I do host two of the boys in my home and run the concession, as well as Miss Thomas.
And this young man right here?
I'm Nick Estrada, and everything she said, I'm very good.
He's my backbone.
Thank you. So over to Councilman Jeff Rivero.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Aviators for picking the city of Atwater to perform their games in. I know that we have been there for a few years, and there's been a lot of young gentlemen that cut through our town to play, I guess it's semi-professional baseball. I know you guys go to college, so you're not getting paid, but it's a baseball event, and if you love baseball as much as I do, I try to make it out every year to cheer you guys on. And the Junior Giants have a day, and these two players, along with the rest of the team, went out, met the kids, took them out to the position, had it announced, and the kids had a wonderful time. To my right is Robert Kellerman, to my left, and then to my right is Blake Thomas. And you're a catcher, right? Yes, sir. And I forgot what position you played.
Also catcher.
Oh, catcher, so I'm in good hands. If I fall either way, I'll get caught. But these guys do an excellent job every year. The Aviators team, the youth come out, and they take care of our youth in our town, and I think it's a wonderful thing for the city of Atwater to have. I know a lot of other towns would love having something like Atwater, so that's why we got to keep them here. And I'm asking people to try to support them next year, and hopefully we can get some jerseys at the beginning of the season, and then also maybe have a city council day where we can get the city employees to come out. But I really want to thank you for what you've done for the Junior Giants and for our town, so thank you very much.
Hey, can I say something? Sure, absolutely. Blake is from Texas, Austin, and Robbie's from North Carolina. Wow. And they come here to play here in Atwater.
Right. We appreciate them coming all of this way. Ms. Britton?
I just want to invite you all out next year. Come and help support our team and our town. We have a great time. Shelley and I man the snack bar and the gate, but you're all welcome to come as much as you can. You know, we really appreciate the support, trying to keep them here.
And we want to, on behalf of the city and on behalf of the city council, we want to thank each and every one of you for coming to our wonderful city and being here during the summer, and all of the support group who are behind and doing a continual year-round work to make sure that when they come during the summer that they're welcome, they have places to go and everything. So on behalf of the city, would you all give these young people a round of applause? Thank you.
Thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to come into our council.
Mayor, if I could add, one of the reasons most of the team wasn't able to be here today is because Saturday was their last game, and like you just noticed, a lot of these kids play from out of state, from out of the area. So as soon as their season was over, they want to get home, like most of us would. So that's why today there was only two kids, because their season ended and most of them took off to go back home.
So we do want to thank them again for giving their summer off to come and play in the city of Atwater. We have a fantastic field, and we appreciate your in using it. One more. Right, just go right to the podium, please.
I just want to say thank you to Atwater for, again, allowing the aviators to be here. It's a lot of fun. We really enjoy it. We would like the rest of you to come out and enjoy it. It starts the first week of June every year. It's at Memorial Ballpark by the water tower, and most games are at 7 o'clock in the evening. So it's still a little bit hot, but it does cool down after a little while. But we would love to see more faces out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is comments from the public. Notice to the public, at this time, any person may comment on any item which is not on the agenda. Please state your name and address for the record. Action will not be taken on an item that is not on the agenda. Please, if it requires action, it will be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. To comment on an item that is on the agenda, please wait until that item is read for consideration, and then please stand up right behind where Mrs. Dash is and right there, so I know that you're wishing to comment. And you have a maximum of 3 minutes. Mr. Vineyard?
James Vineyard, 2401 Canal Drive. Mayor, council members, city managers, staff, public. This afternoon, I heard something that was really disparaging. The Powell storage unit was broken into last Friday night. About 20 bikes plus equipment. BMX bikes were stolen. Approximately $2,000 value on those bikes plus. When Jerry Moore was chief of police, I helped him start Atwater Powell, and I've watched it grow into the incredible organization it is today. It really tears at my heart that someone would come in attacking an organization that helps kids and thereby attacks the kids. Because of that, I've written a personal check that I want to give to either Chief Petro or Lieutenant Joseph for $100 towards bringing those bikes back. Along with that, there's also, I do have a pledge from Mike and Pam Raymond for an additional $100, and hopefully that'll start things rolling. What I'm going to do is I want to challenge every organization in this city that deals with kids to step up and help out. Not only that, I'm challenging every candidate running for office and everyone that thinks kids are the future of the city and the country to contribute something, be it $1, $5, $10, whatever's in your heart. It's time to simply stop giving lip service and start giving service back to every part of our community. If we don't start taking a stand, sometime, somewhere, we'll never take our city back. By replacing these bikes, as a community, we're telling everybody out there who's trying to hurt our community, you can't hurt us. You aren't welcome here. Get out, or we're going to drive you out. If we can't raise enough money via this challenge, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to take my committee, and we're going to come up with another fundraiser. And we're going to keep going until we have enough money to replace the bikes and the equipment. It's about the kids, because the kids are our future. Thank you.
Lieutenant Joseph, would you please come up?
And accept this check from Mr. Vineyard on behalf of the PAL. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's much appreciated.
Good evening. My name's Linda Dash, Beach Drive, Atwater. I have a couple things that, number one, I would like to correct our Deputy City Attorney. Our mayor's name is Joan Fall, like F-A-L-L, and not Fowl. And you probably don't know her well enough to know her last name, but she's a wonderful lady, and I don't like to have my name misspelled, so thank you. And also to the council, our city manager was given only a satisfactory eval. Is that as high as you can go?
His evaluation was very good. The satisfactory is, we either say unsatisfactory or satisfactory, and that's what he was given.
Okay.
It was done by consensus. There was not a formal valuation where they rate him.
Okay, well, we rate him well above satisfactory, so just so y'all know. All right. I have something I typed out this afternoon, and I think it's probably more than 3 minutes. I'm going to try to skip through here, but I read a letter to the editor today that the author of the letter, Mr. Fred Warhol, prompted me to speak this evening, and it had to do with, he's stating that our city is a time bomb, and he blames it on our mayor and mayor pro tem. So I want to look at the other members of the council during this time when the city of Atwater was really, really floundering, and of course one member is no longer serving and two are currently serving up here. And during the past years when the money was short, our council and former city manager made us all think that our funds were flourishing. They were happily receiving, our council, approximately $34,000 annually, $351 for base salary, $100 for phone, $700 car allowance, and $1,717 for in lieu insurance. Comes out to about $2,800 a month. And I know that, and I think this is not bad for a part-time job, two meetings a month and so forth. I know when I was in the council, I received $125 a month. I had to cover everything. During that time that these folks were receiving these perks, the city handed out 9 pink slips to full-time employees from Public Works, Finance, etc. And the employees were required to take a furlough day, which amounted to about 10% of their monthly salary. Our police officers, even though they were working shorthanded, took a 22% pay cut. And this pay cut affected all of them, but some worse than the others, some having to file bankruptcy, some losing their homes. This is all while the city council continued to receive their $28.43 monthly per council member. And I know that Mr. Price and Mr. Lee and Mrs. Bowling have constantly asked and begged the council to terminate their benefits. This happened for many, many months. This is on and off our agenda. Until finally, in June of 2013, there was much discussion about these benefits, and I believe that Mr. Rivero, Jeff, made the motion to voluntarily relinquish the benefits, which I believe y'all did. Now, these benefits were approved in the form of a resolution. I think to be permanently abolished, it takes another resolution, and that's why I'm here. I'm asking you, council members, to please adopt a new resolution to permanently and not temporarily abolish all benefits of all elected officials in the city of Atwater. So, my 3 minutes up?
You have 29 seconds.
Oh, gosh. Well, all I can say is, while we were supposedly muddling our way, as per Mr. Warhol, I know that there is about $800,000 that Target and Walmart gave to us that was supposed to have gone in special funds that went into the general fund to cover our shortages, as well as $250,000 to extend the end of 99 at the Bell Drive. That went into our general fund to cover our shortages. And also $400,000 by...
Thank you, Linda.
Okay, thank you much. You got the message.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. My name is Bill Barkman, 16 Castlewood Drive here in Atwater. I have a brief statement I'd like to read. First of all, though, I think as far as the Mello-Roos issue has been concerned, that the entire council and the staff needs to be commended for the extensive work they did in dealing with property and finding the money to end the bond extension that I believe Mayor Fall and the late Supervisor Rivera worked extensively on in years past. But as a candidate for Atwater City Council and concerned citizens, I've observed, and it's my opinion, that the 2015 sunset of Mello-Roos risks being spun in a way that creates homeowner fear, uncertainty, and doubt, which only clouds the issues. The Mello-Roos bond ends next year, removing the extra burden on those homeowners. To address the fears being generated that the current or future city council will vote to continue Mello-Roos in some form, I therefore invite the sitting city council members, mayor, and candidates in November's election to join me in signing a declaration of intent not to continue CFD I-90 and their commitment to allow it to lapse. The statement reads this way: we, the undersigned mayor, city council members, and candidates for such offices in the November election hereby declare our intent to let Mello-Roos sunset without challenge of any kind. Candidate Jim Vineyard and myself have signed this. Councilman Larry Bergman has committed to sign this when he returns to town, and I invite each of you to sign this as well and let the Sun Star give a public posting of that to remove the fears that different residents have. May I give this to the bench?
Lieutenant Joseph, would you please pick this up and bring it up to us, please?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be here to receive this should you sign it.
Thank you. Or you can give it to the clerk. Thank you. Lee?
Eric Lee, 1199 Atwater Boulevard. I'm not going to read all of this. I just brought it for effect. These are some of the minutes and the notes that we've been going through for about the last 3.5 months. Most of it has to do with Conergy and their contract with the city. We found a number of discrepancies in there, and we'll go over that later. Excuse me. Mayor, council members, members of the audience, I am here tonight to ask this council to suspend the Solar Advisory Committee until which time it can be determined whether or not this committee is a true subcommittee or if it is indeed a standing committee. In reviewing the power purchase agreement the city has with Conergy, it has become apparent to me that this committee has been operating with very little transparency or oversight from this council and without any termination date to that committee that I can find. It keeps going on. It has a start date, but I cannot find a termination date. The recent council decision to review the Casey lease, brought up by Councilman Mooningham, created the question in my mind as to what exactly this committee does. Since that time, I have gone all the way back to 2011 and found information showing that this committee has been involved in a number of decisions regarding the selection process of solar, and found information showing that this committee has been involved in a number of decisions. Geez, I can't find my way tonight. A number of decisions regarding the selection process of solar providers for the city. Conergy was one of these companies, and it was chosen under the advice of the Solar Subcommittee to enter into a power purchase agreement with the city. That agreement was signed on July 13, 2013. What is troubling to me is that this subcommittee has been referenced to a number of times as an advisory committee. Its review and advice on contractual matters and matters before the Planning Commission have been used both to facilitate contracts and move projects along. all without any agendas or minutes as to when they met with Conergy or what went on in those meetings. I would hope this council will consider my request, until which time this committee can come forward and disclose all information regarding their dealings with Conergy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, City Council, City Manager, audience. I have a piece of paper
Excuse me,
here.
Judy, just put a name, first name, last name, please. For the
Judy
record.
Bowling, 137 Judy Drive.
Appreciate that.
This is called Muni Services. Muni Services.
Yes?
Yes. So when we want to do something here in the city now, we just put it in that box and we approve all that stuff all at once. I was at the meeting the night that this was okayed, passed, approved, or however you want to say it. It concerns me that if you can do something like take all of our business license and not keep it local, not spend our money locally. We had to go to Fresno and hire some people to collect our city taxes, our business license? Why? You tell me that one person could not, because my understanding is that CAL FIRE goes out and does the inspection, and there's their checkoff list, and when this stuff is properly brought back, I understand in the prior, it was a major problem. But being that we have new people in place, it just seems to me that that was wrong. And I don't think it's being transparent and putting something in a box with a number on it and passing it. We could have hired another employee. We've lost, what, 500? We could have saved a lot of money instead of having somebody called Muni Services in Fresno to collect our business license. That's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Thank you. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is the consent calendar. Background information has been provided on all matters listed under the consent calendar, and these items are considered to be routine. All items under the consent calendar are normally approved by one motion. If discussion is requested on any item, that item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Councilpersons, would you please review the consent calendar and please indicate whether you wish to remove any item for separate action. Mayor Pro Tem Mooneyham.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make a motion that we approve the consent calendar as presented.
Okay, it's a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second? I'll second that motion. Okay, at this time, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to come forward and discuss the consent calendar? Seeing none, I'll call for the question.
Jeff Rivero?
No.
Joe Rivero?
No.
Mooneyham?
Yes.
Fall?
Yes.
Motion fails.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Jeff Rivero. What concerns do you have?
I'd like to pull number 5 off and not discuss it, but pull it off completely. Remove it from the agenda.
we can't, are you going to discuss it?
No, I don't
For
want to
further discussion?
I would like to move it on to our next,
Our
2 weeks from now
City
agenda.
Attorney, can we pull an item in the consent calendar off because we've already gone through the changing of the agenda?
That's fine, because what he's actually asking to do is postpone it to the next city council meeting, so that would be his motion, and that's acceptable.
That is acceptable, okay? So Mr. Jeff Rivera wishes to postpone. Okay. Sorry.
To remove it from the agenda.
And, okay, remove it from the agenda, but she says, and to continue it to the next meeting. Continue to the next meeting. It'd be August 11th. Do we have a second to that?
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. By Joe Rivero. Okay, do we have any further discussion? Call for the question.
Joe Rivero,
No.
Mooneyham,
No.
Jeff Rivero,
Yes.
Fall,
Oh, boy. No. Mr. Mooneyham.
See, this is a problem I have. We get our agendas on Thursday. We have all that time to communicate to the city manager, unless new information comes to us that there's an item that wishes to be pulled. I don't know why we go through the circus of doing this last minute and pulling these agenda items.
Mr. Councilman Joe Rivero.
I believe there's something called the Brown Act, and if it was being passed on, even from the city manager's point of view, I believe I'd ask the city attorney. But if you are communicating through anyone else to the rest of the council, even through the city manager, is that a violation if you were discussing certain issues?
You can talk to the city manager, sir.
Excuse me. Go ahead. City attorney?
So, yes, you are allowed to talk to the city manager about particular items. The violation of the Brown Act would be if people on the city council are meeting outside of a public meeting and discussing items in, more than one or two people. That's where the Brown Act comes in. So, long story short, you are allowed to pull items from the agenda and continue them or pull them for discussion. But if that's a motion that was made, it has not passed, so we need to figure out what we're going to do with our consent calendar here.
Councilman Jeff Rivero, this is your concern. Is there something we can discuss this evening so we can get this taken care of?
Point of order. If a motion's made and it's not passed, shouldn't it not die then?
Sir?
Point of order, this goes to the city, to the city attorney.
According to the rules that I was directed by the city attorney, the point of order comes to me, and I make that decision, and I will refer that to the city attorney.
Point of order then, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so the motion was made, it did not pass. It can be reconsidered by the prevailing party during the same meeting. At this point, we have a consent calendar, and so we need to go through and figure out, are we going to take them one by one? What are we going to do to get through these items? Is there a particular question that we could answer about any of these items?
Jeff Rivero, Councilman Jeff Rivero.
I've said all along personally that when it comes to a claim, that I thought we should take it to closed session, so that way we don't have a council member screaming and ranting and raving about not having all the information. So I would like to have all the information, pros and cons to a situation, and I believe closed session is the best way to handle that before a meeting. That's just my personal opinion.
I do have that information if you want it here today, it's a rather small amount. I don't know if that helps you. If you prefer to do it otherwise, we're going to have some kind of motion that gets passed, or we're going to need to go through each one of these one at a time. So why don't we do that? Why don't we go through each one of them one at a time?
Okay. Item number 1, warrants. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve warrants listed number 1.
Okay. Motion by Jeff Rivero to
Second.
approve, seconded by Joe Rivero. Is there any discussion? Call for the question.
Jeff Rivero,
Yes.
Mooneyham,
Yes.
Joe Rivero,
Yes.
Fall.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number 2, minutes of the regular meeting of the July 14, 2014.
I'd like to make a motion to approve minutes number 2.
Motion to approve number 2. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Do we have any further discussion? Call for the question.
Joe Rivero,
Yes.
Mooneyham,
Yes.
Jeff Rivero,
Yes.
Fall.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number 3, minutes, Parks and Recreation. Do I have a motion of approval?
Make a motion to approve number 3, minutes for Parks and Rec.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Joe Rivero. Item number 4, resolutions.
Any call for
A
the
vote.
question on
Oh,
the
I'm
three?
sorry, call for the vote.
Jeff
My
Rivero?
apologies.
Yes.
Joe Rivero,
Yes.
Mooneyham,
Yes.
Fall.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion for resolutions number 4 for authorizing the submittal of application to San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District's Public Benefit Grant Program.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Call for the question.
Joe Rivero,
Yes.
Jeff Rivero,
Yes.
Mooneyham,
Yes.
Fall.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number 5, claims against the city. I'll entertain a motion. Mayor Pro Tem Mooneyham.
Question for the city manager. Frank, is this the initial rejection? So it's standard procedure, right, that for the city of Atwater, that we do this initially?
Yes,
And then we meet in closed session if further discussion is required?
that's correct.
Okay, thanks.
It's a pretty simple claim.
Is there a motion on regards to item number 5? Is there a motion either for or against this item?
Maybe I could explain what's happening.
Yes.
So what's happened is there's a claim that's been submitted by a citizen, and we have submitted it to our third-party administrator. The third-party administrator has done a preliminary evaluation and is recommending that the city deny the claim. So what is being presented to you is staff's recommendation that claim number 2014-5 be rejected in accordance with the recommendation by Ames, which is our third-party claims administrator. I don't know if that clarifies anything for anybody to make grounds for a motion. And what this does is it starts the statute of limitations that the claimant would have to file a lawsuit against the city. This claim is for $125, so this would be a small claims lawsuit.
Move to approve.
Second.
And to clarify, you're moving to approve staff's recommendation to reject the claim, correct?
Correct.
That's correct. Okay, moved by Mr. Mooneyham, seconded by Fall, to reject the claim as staff recommendation. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Call for the question.
Jeff Rivero,
I'll abstain.
Joe Rivero,
Yes.
Mooneyham?
Yes.
Fall?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number 6, the treasurer's report for the month of June 2014. Is there a motion on this, on the treasurer's report, item number 6?
Move to approve the treasurer's report for the month of June 2014 as presented.
Moved by Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Mooneyham to approve.
I'll second the motion.
And seconded by Councilman Jeff Favero. Is there any further discussion? Call for the question.
Mooneyham?
Yes.
Joe Rivera?
Yes.
Jeff Rivera?
Yes.
Fall?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Public hearings. Item number 7, ordering an annual levy for lighting and drainage and landscape assessment maintenance districts for the fiscal year 2014-15. Community Development Director McBride.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members, audience, public. As you know, we're here tonight for the second hearing of this item, and as part of the process, the city is required to generate engineering reports for the annual lighting and landscape districts, and those are included in your packet. When I was here last time, you had some questions about proposed changes, and there were a couple of pages in the reports that I wanted to draw your attention to. On page 17 of the consolidated report for landscaping is a file that shows the applied rate for 2013, proposed for 14, and the rate of increase or decrease. On page 25 of the Lighting and Drainage District is a similar report that has what was applied for 13-14, proposed for 14-15, and it shows the rates up and down as compared to the two. This is the information that you were concerned about the last meeting, and so we had taken some additional time to publicize this to the city website. These two forms are up there for the public to review. We also had some additional time for people to review it and respond back. City Clerk, to my knowledge, I don't think we've received any correspondence of anyone opposing the districts and the set rates. Having said that, we did provide for your information earlier tonight some proposed recommended changes on a sheet for your consideration. There were several funds in landscape maintenance. Fund 5048, which is the reserve that we would have stay at zero. Reason for that is there's no improvements installed, so therefore no maintenance needs to be conducted at it. For Fund 5027, Juniper Meadows, we're proposing no increase over last year. For Fund 5029, Camellia Meadows, again, no increase over last year. For Fund 5035, Bell Crossing, no increase over last year. For Fund 5044, Aspenwood, no increase over last year. Those recommendations are made with the advice of the Public Works Director. We looked at what needs to happen as far as maintenance goes at those areas, the level they're maintaining them, and it was determined that they could do it based upon the rates that have been charged. With regard to lighting and storm drainage, we're requesting that all of Fund 5008, which is Schaefer Lakes East, not be increased over last year, and for Fund 5036 Atwater South be no increase over last year. You do see on those pages that I pointed out, 17 and 25, that there are many districts where there are already no increases, many where there are decreases proposed for this next year. As you know, we do have some funds that have healthy fund balances and some that are not so healthy. We think with the recommendations we're making tonight, we can still provide the same level of services we have been, and we're going to continue to work with Wildan Financial Services to update the engineering reports. They're in a different format this year from what they have been. They're a little bit clearer to read. There's some refinement that we need to go through, and we're planning to make the pledge between community development and public works to work much earlier in the year so that they are ready to see by the council far in advance of the deadlines. The deadline that we have to submit this to the county for the tax roll is August 15th, as you know. With that, Mayor, I'd be happy to answer any questions. We do also have Susana Medina here tonight. She's with Wildan. She's sitting right over here. She was part of the team that helped us form the reports and the items that are here tonight. so we can answer your questions, and then obviously we also have to have the hearing opened, take any testimony, and then bring it back for consideration.
Council, do we have any questions before I open up the public hearing? Councilman Jeff Rivero?
Yes, I had a question, and I know it came up in past council meetings that in one of these sections, there was supposed to be a bike lane put in. It never was, but the account was close to $100,000 on the plus side.
Okay.
Where are we at on that?
You'd have to give me the district. I can look into it. I don't know off the top of my head which district it has.
Ken, it's from your district. Do you know what number district yours is?
Sir?
Or the name of it? The name of the subdivision, perhaps?
Yeah, Stone Creek, sounds right.
Stone Creek.
I'd be happy to look it up here. Let's look through the report that you received last week. Look at the landscape maintenance report here for Stone Creek. See if it's discussed in there. Susanna, does that come to mind on a certain page of the report that I could go to quickly? Why don't you come up and let them know that?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. It looks like we are not budgeting any costs for a bike lane in Juniper Meadows or Stone Creek?
Stone Creek. Which would be 5031.
5031. And that's on page
What is the balance on 5031?
15.
I have that, I can tell you. So for 5031, there's no increase, and we're also not levying for landscaping this year, so it's $0 being collected. And the balance for 5031 is $145,000.
So some of that $145,000, was some of that supposed to be committed to the bike lane?
Was there some that was collected for bike lane before? Is that what you're saying?
I think that's what the
Yeah.
council member's saying, that
Okay.
it's probably allocated, so.
So because we're not collecting for a bike lane anymore, and there is $145,000 in the fund, we're taking that money and allocating it for the maintenance of the other costs of the district. And that's why we are not levying for the fiscal year 14-15.
So you probably have many years where you won't have a levy on that district.
All right, then also can we check, and I know it won't have anything to do with you, but Scott, if we can check into, apparently in April 2004, there was a possibility that the city was going to be sued, and conversation went back and forth that the developer said that they were going to pay for the bike lane. So is there any way we can backtrack on that and find out why the developer didn't pay for that bike lane and why the citizens were charged?
I can work with the city attorney's office to see if there's anything that we have on that subdivision agreement or anything else.
Thank you.
Are we ready? Is any other questions before I open up the public hearing? I'm sorry. Now it's the time we open up the public hearing. Those persons who wish to come forward and speak on the levies as far as the, would you please come forward and state your name and address for the record? And we would like to thank the consultant that has come all the way up from Temecula to help us tonight. And so please state your name and address for the record. And please state the area that you live in so we can look up the parcel for you. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Ken Stevenson. Madam Mayor, City Manager, and City Council. When we first moved into Stone Creek, the figures that somehow I got by mistake, I'm sure they didn't want me to see them, or it was, anyway, they were totally bogus. We were charged for a new truck every 2 years. We were charged for dump truck fees. I still have the copy of all the information and the numbers. we were charged for 20 hours a week for somebody to come out and mow and blow in the front. There's nothing in the back. It's absolutely bare land with weeds. A bike path, which we've never had, we were charged for that, and there was a lot of people that were concerned. I don't know if they followed through with their concerns or not. But I jumped on that thing, and it was reduced eventually, but the first couple of years it was about $275. And we paid for a lot of services that we never received. Now, it's a possibility if all the homes had been developed, then maybe they would have had to come out and clean out those dumps with the dump trucks, et cetera, et cetera. But it seemed to me that why should we be paying for a new truck every 2 years unless it stays in our district? So, you know, hopefully this time we will have some true accurate figures rather than somebody, and I'm not accusing anybody, but hopefully they're accurate. You know, after spending $20,000+ on the Mello-Roos of the last number of years, that kind of smarts. You know, if I was still 35 or 40 and earning good money like I did in the Bay Area, that was one thing, but now I'm retired, I'm on a fixed income. And so we in these areas have paid for the underground and also fire departments, et cetera, and hopefully we'll have some honest numbers, and I think we'll all be happy. I appreciate what some of you gentlemen do, Joe and Jeff. You've really jumped on the Mello-Roos thing, and we really appreciate all the people in our district. We just wish you the best and keep up the good work. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to come forward and speak on the levies? Thank you very much. Anyone else who wishes to come forward and speak on the levies, either for or against? Seeing none, then we will close the public hearing, bring it back to the dais. Mr. McBride?
Yes, Mayor.
Did you have a change in the motion that you wanted to add or amend?
We
on
would
this?
request your approval of the annual levy for lighting and drainage with the recommended changes that I went through earlier. I'd be more than happy to repeat those again if you'd like. For Fund 5048, the reserve, it would be $0. For Fund 5027, Juniper Meadows, no increase over the previous years. For Fund 5029, Camellia Meadows, again, no increase over the last year. Fund 35, Bell Crossing, no increase over the last year. Fund 5044, Aspenwood, no increase over the last year. Those are all landscape districts. And for lighting and drainage, Fund 5008, Schaefer Lakes East, no increase over last year. Fund 5036, Atwater South, no increase over last year. Those would be incorporated along with all the other things that are already in the report. Those would be the changes.
Thank you. Is there any further questions? Entertain a motion. Mayor Pro Tem Mooneyham.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make a motion to approve staff's recommendation as amended.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilman Joe Rivero. Is there for any further discussion? Call for the question.
Joe Rivero,
Yes.
Mooneyham,
Yes.
Jeff Rivero,
Yes.
Fall,
Yes.
motion carries.
I want to thank Mr. McBride and Mr. Ferretta and for our consultant
for all of them putting together this levy presentation. This is a very hard thing, and it gets very confusing, and I want to thank you very much for doing that. Item number 8, City Attorney Reports. Resolution.
Sure. So at the last meeting, Councilmember Jeff Rivero asked for a resolution to be considered by the City Council, and his concern was ensuring that those who are in Melrose Communities Facilities District number 190, to make sure that all of those in there would be notified if there would be any potential action taken to impact them with respect to the amount of money that they are charged. So we drafted a resolution, and upon speaking with him, he wanted to make sure that the resolution was quite broad to state that before the City Council considers any action that could affect Melrose Community Facilities District 190, that those who would be affected get written notice 24 days and then again 7 days before that item is placed on the agenda. So with that correction, that is the resolution that is here before you for your consideration.
Mr. McBride? Can you restate again for us the Melrose and the bonds, or the people that have you been working with, and the final date that they gave us, that when the bonds would be concluded?
Yes, ma'am. As you know, we had a meeting, I believe it was last week, provided information at the community center. Nothing has changed since we've discussed it with you here previously. The residents will see a bill. They'll have basically a bill that's going to come out, I believe, in October. You'll have a payment for your taxes in December. Be another payment due in April, and that will collect all the money needed to pay off the debt, which is in August of 2015.
This city attorney, this measure is basically if something catastrophic happens, that the phrase, we hope that nothing catastrophic happens, but if something does, then this will be notifying the residents. Is that correct?
This is just, yes, in a nutshell, what this resolution does is just adds to the notice that's required to be given if any action is taken affecting those within the district. So it's just an extra precaution to make sure that people are notified if any potential action is taken, good, bad, or otherwise.
This is not increasing the Melrose any further than August of 2015.
That's correct.
So, because there was a lot of rumors out there that this, because the way it was presented in the paper, it sounded like we were extending it. We are not extending it.
No action is being taken with respect to the Melrose. This is just adding a notice provision. That's it.
And Jeff Rivero.
I was going to ask Stacy, well, first I'll give you a little background of what the Melrose people had to go through. For the last 5 years, I've spent trying to work hand in hand with the Melrose District. When I first ran, I tried to go to every single door in the city, and I went to almost every door in the Melrose District. Every single door I went to had a different story of when they were supposed to be paid off, what was supposed to be done. It was just chaos. And one thing I told people was I was going to try to have meetings so that way we can be organized and the city can convey its information. And to let you know that the first meeting that we met, the city manager even announced to the people that were there or participated that there was misappropriations from some of the general fund and that it could have been criminal. So the people there were a little bit upset about that. In fact, some of the staff basically said, be careful of pitchforks and torches because people in the Melrose District were so upset. And I was a little bit upset about that being said, but the Melrose District's supposed to open it up to people, all the information. The second meeting we had, the city manager told the people that showed up that the property belonged to the Melrose District. Didn't belong to the city, it belonged to the Melrose District. The third meeting, a different city manager told him, no, that doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the city, and when we sell it, it'll pay off the taxes, and then after that, the city can decide what to do with the extra. Those are polar opposites of what the explanation is supposed to be, but it's coming from the same city, the same, not a different city manager, but the city manager's position. The fourth meeting was to explain that the properties were just about being sold and we would get hold of them as soon as it closed, because we didn't want to announce anything, be up front and then it falls through. So it was explained that if the sales went through, how the process would go. The next meeting, we explained to the people how it was sold, and I think Scott McBride did just about every one of the presentations and explained to the people that the taxes would knock, the sales of the two properties across from Buhack High School would knock their taxes down that year, and then the next year they would decrease even further, and everything was online for it to be paid and be done with. Scott will even tell you that there were some people that left the meeting this last week saying, no, I don't believe that you guys are ever going to end this. And I'm not saying that you have to do things for the naysayers, but I think it's my job as a council member, and this whole council's gone along with it. We've never fought over the Melrose, but I think we need to help let the people know that even if something comes up catastrophic, and we're hoping and praying that it doesn't, they'll have to get notification so that they can come down and be informed. And all I was asking to do is, the motion you said, and that was to make sure that the rumors, the misinformation, and they don't have to worry about it, because if anything changes, they have to be notified. So it's just to safeguard the people, to make them feel comfortable that the city has a resolution saying that they have to be notified. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, discussions on this item? Yes.
Judy Bowling, 137 Judy Drive. You know, we were told a lot of things whenever we bought here in Atwater. Come to find out, some of our drains and different things like that weren't connected and flooded. But we signed on the dotted line. We bought that property. I feel bad for the people in Melrose, but right now, as far as I'm concerned, they're being given a gift. And all of this hullabaloo, I don't understand how you could sign papers with the Melrose and not understand what you're signing. I don't understand that at all. And there's always going to be, well, someone said this, and next year someone said that, and you know what you signed, period. So the city sold off some lots, cut down some debt. It's going to end. It's going to end. Let it go.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to discuss this item? Just a moment, sir. Let me finish this first. Come forward. Let's get the
Bill Barkman, my address hasn't changed in 30 minutes.
Thank you.
I have a question for either Mr. McBride or whoever can answer it. My understanding of the Melrose is that except for the community being unable to fund Melrose, the City Council has no authority to vote to continue it to add extra tax revenues into the city. It's strictly for that district, and it's continued only as it was because it was not fully funded and it was going to miss its date. And that being the case, there are people that I've talked to who believe that the city has the authority to continue it for the purposes of increased and added taxes. So that is one of the reasons that I suggested everybody who's running and everybody who is currently on the city council sign that declaration so that people know that no one wants it. The other thing is, it needs to be made clear to the public, especially in the Melrose district, that the city council does not have the authority to continue the Mello-Roos except if it's unfunded. And I would suggest that that communication be clearly made by whatever means possible. Thank you.
Mr. McBride, can you answer?
The question was, does the city council have the ability to extend it? And I honestly don't have the answer to that question.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Mr. Lee?
Eric Lee, and my address is still the same. I don't understand something. Councilman Jeff Rivera, you indicated that the city might have some liability with some of the problems with Mello-Roos. Is that what I understood you to say?
Mr. Lee, you need to come to this chair, please. Thank you.
Come to you?
No, just speak to me instead of the councilman, thank you.
So I need to...
Thank you, that's fine, thank you.
Okay.
Just talk to me.
Talk to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've done it before, Mr. Lee.
Okay.
Yes.
Am I to understand, Madam Mayor, that the city has a responsibility with some of the things that have gone wrong with Mello-Roos? Is that what I heard? Can I ask that question?
Let us say, Mr. Lee, that there's been quite a few things that have happened with the Mello-Roos over the years, and so I can, but we do not want to put the city at put liability out there, but I think.
Yes. Please, thank you, Mayor Fall. I don't think anybody up here is in a position today to state anything to the effect that the city is exposed to liability for the prior actions that were taken with respect to the Mello-Roos.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Answered that question.
Okay, if there's no further questions, we'll bring it back up to the dais, and I think Councilman Jeff Rivera had a question or comment.
Those are a couple of issues that were brought up at the Mello-Roos meetings. There was people that had contracts that said their Mello-Roos ended in 2009. There was another one in 2012 and another one that ended in 2014. These are contracts they had, and of course that's not the city's responsibility, but to show you the misinformation these people had. One person even said that there was no Mello-Roos tax on their property when they bought it, and that's something that they'd have to go through the realtor, but I'm just trying to tell you that's what kind of misinformation there was out there. Also, at one of the meetings it was communicated that if certain domino effects, and I forget the exact terminology, but if certain things weren't met, that yes, it could be extended or it could have been increased. And I'm not saying that information is correct. Just like I'm saying when the people got the information that the property belonged to the Mello-Roos district, and not just a year later they were told, no, it belonged to the city. I'm not saying either one of those are correct. I'm just saying at the Mello-Roos meeting, there was different information being handled. And I think you nail the nail, you put the nail in the coffin by saying that, okay, do we have a clarification yet? And that's what my question was. Can it be extended or increased?
I don't have the answer to that question. I have not read any of the Mello-Roos documents. I was not at any of those meetings. I haven't read any of the contracts. I do not have the answer to that question. What we're here today to consider is your request that if any action is going to be considered by the City Council in the future with respect to Mello-Roos Community Services District 190, that those who could be affected will be given written notice 24 days before the hearing and again 7 days before the hearing. I think what you've done today is given the reason why you want that notice. I think that's very helpful so everybody knows why you want this notice. So in front of the council today is this resolution that would require these additional notice.
And this resolution is legal and it doesn't put the city at any risk for anything. It just provides a safeguard for our citizens.
What the resolution does is just, it requires that the city give additional notice above and beyond what's required by the law.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, I'll entertain Councilman Joe Rivera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to make the motion.
What is your motion? Motion to approve?
So, a motion to approve as amended.
Thank you.
Second the motion.
Motion to approve as amended by Councilman Joe Rivero, and the second is by Councilman Jeff Rivero. Is there any further discussion? Call for the question.
Jeff Rivero,
Yes.
Joe Rivero,
Yes.
Mooneyham,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next item on the agenda is city council matters, and we will start with Councilman Joe Rivero.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say my condolences to the family of Les Papazian. He was a really outstanding citizen. He was friendly. He was always there to give a handshake and a smile and talk to you no matter what. So my condolences to his family. He's going to be he's a loss. His death is a loss to our community.
Thank you. Councilman Jeff Rivero.
I'd like to go along with what Council Member Joe Rivero said, that Les Papazian was a great man, did a lot for the city, a lot for the community, and he will be a man well missed. And,
Mayor Pro Tem Mooneyham.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, pardon me, I'm sorry.
I was going to add a special thank you to all the staff that put together everything for the Melrose. I know you guys at the very end were working hard and diligent because of the time frame, but we appreciate, especially Margarita, all the efforts you put in for the meeting that we had, and also Gina and anyone else, if you could pass along that we thank you. There was a lot of dignitaries, or a few dignitaries there. I wasn't able to write them down, and I wasn't able to thank them. I know Darren McDaniel was there, and we had a few other people, candidates running for council, and also importantly, we had PG&E, APG, the credit union, Travis. I'm hoping T Solar. I'm hoping I'm not missing anybody else, but I wanted to make sure that we thanked them because at the meeting we didn't get that opportunity. And then I was going to ask the chief if we can schedule a school summit meeting. You know, we had that one first couple of years as a council member, but we got together with the superintendent and principals of schools, and that was one of the things that helped us get the lit crosswalks and flashing speed signs in. And we were able to communicate any construction that went on and different things that they could communicate with their people. If we can schedule a school summit possibly in August, later. And then I know with AT&T closing Mi Pueblo, that a few people, there's probably about 500 people that are going to be losing their jobs. I've communicated with Louise Farley from Senator Canella's office, and they're working diligently to get some speakers for us or some presenters that can present the people in the city of Atwater, even Merced County or Merced if they wanted to show up, to Save Your Home California, and then other avenues people can take to save their homes, because with 500 people losing their jobs, there's a good possibility. And even the citizens inside of our town, but our employees, some of them have taken cuts and those haven't been replenished, and I know that's a hardship. So if there's any way that we can communicate to our employees and then have a town hall meeting to help people save their homes. And lastly, I would like to ask sometime this month that we schedule one more energy efficiency, and actually one in Spanish and one more in English.
You want it this month? We have one scheduled in August. Do you want it in July?
I'm sorry, I was thinking this was the end, so you're correct. If we can do one in August and maybe one in September. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Mooneyham.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a question for the city manager. Would it be appropriate or even okay if we had Mr. McBride share with us some of the updates on commercial activity that he shared with the council?
Absolutely.
Thank you. If I could ask you, Scott, just very briefly to give us an update on that.
Okay. Trying to recall if we have prepared anything recently. I do know that we have received tenant improvement plans in the building division for a Togo's restaurant that would be next to the Verizon and the Verizon location. We do have plans in for an expansion of Fruitland Church. That's going forward to the Planning Commission on Wednesday. The veterinary clinic is scheduled to open probably sometime at the end of the month. I'm sorry, there's probably something else, but that's all I can come up with off the top of my head.
The boot barn.
Yeah, boot barn.
Oh, okay, yes. We also have received plans for tenant permits at the Applegate Ranch Shopping Center for what's called a boot barn. It's Western wear. And if you've been in the area, you notice that the pizza factory is getting very close to opening.
Sonic.
And Sonic is working towards reopening, thank you. So the information's out there. I apologize I didn't have better notes, but those are the types of things we deal with on a daily basis. And there's other things we're working on I can't disclose yet, but we always have a few things that we're working towards.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. Sorry to catch a cold like that. Also, just my 2 cents on the Melrose bond. This is something that the entire council has been working on for 4 years. Not just a select few, the entire council has been working on this. We've asked about the status on this repeatedly. I personally don't feel that we need to etch anything in stone regarding 190. This is something that has gained a high degree of infamy in this town. I think that anybody who would propose an increase, an elongation of that period, I think they would be tarred and feathered. I dare say that Melrose will never rear its head in this town again, but I'll stop short of that. So I do, to a certain degree, think it's much ado about nothing, but I will certainly go ahead and commit my name if it serves as a feel-good measure, certainly. And City Manager Petro, I'm not going to ask you to schedule a thing because I know how busy you are in keeping the city afloat.
Okay. Bloss Home. We're having a 100th birthday party on September 26th. So we really need to have everybody. We're going to have a major, it's going to be a major event in the city of Atwater. And we are going, it's September 26th. The program starts at 6 o'clock. The dinner starts at 7 o'clock. We're having Connie Covello and George are going to be cooking. It's going to be $25 a ticket. We sure would hope that everybody would support it. And so Kathy Jensen is the lady that is in, and Greg Gozak and McDaniel and everyone. So please support that. And so with that, and that's one item. The next item is that we have, let's see, I thought I had another item. That was it. So the Bloss Home is really is such a fantastic thing, and it's our centerpiece. I am going to adjourn the meeting in honor of Les Papazian. Les was a resident of the city of Atwater for over 60 years, and Mr. Wallace.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. When you get to be my age, you lose people like Les. And Angie and him were good friends. Why don't you name a park or I think Angie has a room over at the...
We have an Angie luncheon.
Yeah, and I think he deserves something like that, and I just have to say that.
Okay, thank you. I would agree with that. Les was over 60-year resident of our community. And he was MID director for over 20 years, and then he was very instrumental in our senior social club and our AAA program throughout the county is representing the seniors. There wasn't a thing that Les wasn't involved in, and it was such an honor to get to know him. And what I'm going to do with this resolution that we all signed, I'm going to present it next week from Tuesday to the Senior Social Club and they always meet, and every Tuesday at I think it's 10 o'clock they start.
but I'm going to present this to them because they're the ones that really, Les is really a member, still a living member of their community. So with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you for coming.
That's the best thing. He was Italian.